Real life attitude guy show.
The Real Life Attitude Guy Show with Wayne Nance, author of Thin, Rich, and Happy, is now on the air.
Welcome to the show. This is Wayne Nance, the Real Life Attitude Guy, and I got an attitude. How about you?
Hi, I'm Lindsay, and I'm here with Wayne Nance, the host of the Real Life Attitude Guy Show. And Wayne, can you tell us a little bit about the first show that you shot in Las Vegas?
Yes, I appreciate you asking about that, Lindsay. That was a special show to me. I was 7 floors above the shooter the day of the shooting at Mandalay Bay Hotel. I had just checked in that day, and I was there for some meetings about real life attitude and what we're going to be doing with our programming. And I wanted to do something that was important to me. For about 10 years, I had been wanting to do some women programming because I'd done a lot of women's seminars around the country. And as I sat in the hotel room for 5 days before this shoot, it was a 5-day period between the day we did the first women's show and the shooting. I had a lot of time to reflect. I had worked 7 years with the military on domestic violence against women issues, rape. I had worked on suicides, violence in the home, and I really, as I sat there and reflected, I said, this is something I need to do. We need to do this. So I pulled together the crew and a producer, and I said, we're going to do this week. I don't know how we're going to do it or where we're going to do it, but we're going to do it. And so we did that on location. It was kind of a last-minute thing with our decision to do it. And I really wasn't worried about if everything was perfect for that first show. What I really wanted to do was talk about issues for women. And the Real Life Attitude Guy show will be for women, about women and the issues, whether it be their health, their money, their relationships, domestic violence, sexual assault, whatever the topic that women are interested in, we're going to do that. And I felt that because there were so many women injured or killed that week by this person who, it was pretty obvious from our research that this man had a lot of anger toward women. It wasn't just toward society, if you go back and look at the number of women that were involved. So this will always be a very special show to me as we do this real life attitude show for women. So I appreciate you asking me about it and let me talk to you about this. And I hope that women will tune in and let us talk to them about issues that women care about. And we just appreciate that opportunity.
Well, thank you for being here, Wayne.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tammy Lear, and I'm with Mr. Wayne Nance. He's the CEO and founder of Real Life Management. Now, Wayne, I love this book, The 3-Minute Difference. Alter your health, money, and relationships without changing who you are. How cool is that? Because a lot of us, we've got a wonderful group of ladies here. Now, a lot of us, do we like to change?
Nobody wants to change. Are you kidding me? Everybody thinks they're fine the way they are.
This is my favorite, without changing who you are.
That's right.
Here's what I love about you. You are one of the most humble individuals with such a wealth of knowledge. And I really want everyone who's watching to understand and get perspective on who I have the great pleasure of sitting with this afternoon. I also want to put a little attention on the time of year, our location. We're sitting here in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's October 6th, 2017.
Yes.
And there's a sense of community going on right now in Las Vegas. And when we decided to continue with this project on this day, we wanted to make it very clear of this day and give proper respect to anyone who may have been affected by the very tragic event. What I also find interesting, Wayne, is that this information and this technology is so incredibly powerful that it can go along the lines of us being able in our day-to-day to detect, we could find out and detect certain behaviors, certain attitude demographics about individuals that are paramount. So I'd first like to, number one, start with you telling us about yourself, putting a little tension on what I just shared, and thank you so much for joining today, and I appreciate the wonderful women who are here today joining us. Welcome.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad everybody's here to talk about this and talk with me today, because to be honest with you, she just said something that I'm still trying to get my hands around. I was in the hotel building 7 floors above the person who did the shootings. And I sit there every night looking at that sign on the side of the building out my hotel room, and I have a hard time getting my hands around it, even though I do this for a living, you know, trying to read and understand demographics of people's attitude. I want to talk a little bit about my background. The reason I wanted to have us all to talk about this was several years ago I used to do a 2-hour call-in radio show on Fox Network in Dallas. And I would have people take the survey and call me and talk about their life. And I always wanted to talk about health, money, and relationships. That's what we talk about. That's what the book's about. But more importantly than just talking about health, money, and relationships, you know, because you get to see shows like Dr. Phil and everybody says, you know, let's sit here and let's analyze you and talk about what's wrong with you or what you need to do better. Well, we went a lot deeper. We decided that we wanted to know somebody's attitude in 3 minutes. And it took us 35 years. Myself and a lot of clinicians worked together, and we said, okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about what's an attitude. Well, an attitude is not a personality, because I used to work with some personality therapists out at Canyon Ranch years ago, and they said, hey, what's your personality? Or why don't we talk about personality of this or that? I got to where I hated the word personality because it became an excuse for bad behavior. People would say, well, that's just my personality. I can't help it. Well, what I wanted to know was what makes up an attitude. And so we spent 35 years researching, and we determined that by 7 years old, our attitudes are predetermined. So your attitude today was pretty much predetermined by the time you were 7 years old. You have what we call hard wiring and soft wiring. Your hard wiring comes at birth. God basically gives us hard wiring. Your soft wiring is your mom and your dad or the people who raise you that influence you in the first 7 years. So whether you're the cameraman today or whether you're the ladies joining us or me and you, we all got one, an attitude, and we all have hard wiring and soft wiring. And so we realize that if we are obese, do you think obesity is a problem in America? We're fatter than we've ever been. Pound for pound, we're the biggest nation in the world, right? 65% of us are obese. Now, I can relate to that because I weighed 320 pounds in the late 1970s. I was pre-Oprah Winfrey. I was fat for Oprah, okay? And so in 1979, before she made it famous to lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, and gain weight, I was already fat. Now, I weighed 320, but I try to tell people I came in at around 310, 315 officially. But I knew I was bigger because I couldn't get on a scale anywhere that would hold me. I mean, you know, I knew how big I was. I was a financial advisor. That was my earlier career. I spent 25, 24 years as a financial advisor, and I got 4 credit cards I maxed out while I was a financial advisor. I was talking about life issues and relating to people's lives, and I wasn't a very good husband. I was always busy on the road traveling, working on my projects or with my financial business. And I said to my wife one day, she says, why aren't you ever home? And I said, honey, you don't understand. I'm doing it for us. She said, no, you're not. You're doing it for you and your ego and your pocketbook. If you were doing it for us, you'd start staying home, spending some time with us. Now, I don't know if anybody watching this clip is going to relate to what I just said, but that's a lot of problems in marriages today, okay? So then I was out there running up debt because I had to have the nicest Mercedes convertible. I had to live in a big house. I had big screen TVs before they were popular. So I had stuff. I was fat. Marriage wasn't doing well, and so after I started having to work on myself, I was my first attitude victim or customer. I had to find out what was wrong with me. And so some of the material in this book was stuff that I had to go through myself. There's actually some steps of improvement you do in your life that I put in this book. And the first chapter of the book is about my failures. Now, today, I go around the country and talk to people and make jokes about it and try to, because I don't think I don't want people sitting and crying in an audience. I mean, because it's okay to be, kind of fat or big boned. I wasn't ever fat. I was big boned and I had a slow metabolism. You ever heard anybody have a slow metabolism? I had a thyroid. I must have had a 200-pound thyroid. You've heard about that. And then there's always the issue of, I wasn't, what is the word somebody told me the other day? They said, I'm not broke, I'm financially challenged. I don't know what the difference is, but I know today we have to be politically correct. And then when somebody says, hey, I'm on my third marriage, I just married 3 losers, I understand. But at some point, we have to take some personal responsibility for our life and look at our attitude. So that's a long answer to what you said, but I want to make sure that people understand that my claim to fame is not that I'm this great speaker or writer or founder of the company. My claim to fame is that I failed at everything I talk about. And I want to try to make sure other people don't continue to do that.
Very good. So we did something really fun, and with this beautiful panel here, we did something very fun. Everyone took the behavioral assessment.
Yes.
And I want you to touch a little bit on that, what the survey does.
Well, in the book, you can imagine that I was trying to appeal to all the public. Matter of fact, this book is called The 3-Minute Difference, but in hardback, it's in the softback. It came out in 2008 in hardback called Thin, Rich, and Happy. Simon Schuster published it in hardback, and it was picked up in Thin, Rich, and Happy by the Russian publishers and Spanish publishers putting around the world in different languages. I wanted Simon Schuster to call it Fat, Broke, and Miserable. And they said, Wayne, you're being so negative. We can't call the book Fat, Broke, and Miserable. We've got to call it Thin, Rich, and Happy and be politically correct. So I said, fine. So they put the book in Thin, Rich, and Happy. And then when I did my speeches, I called them Fat, Broke, and Miserable. So I still got my way. So what we have is we have 3 people that have decided they would be really great for the panel tonight to talk about attitude. And so we have a barge, I call in the book, a barge, and we have a sailboat. Now, everybody give your name, please. First name.
My name is Mara.
Mira.
Elisa. My name is Sharon.
Cheryl.
Sharon.
Sharon. So we know them by attitude as barges and sailboats, okay? Now, before I go any further into that explanation, has anything crossed your mind, either one of you, the 3 of you, that in the areas of health, money, and relationships where I talked about my life, is there anything struck you in your life that you have a question or a comment or something that you want to just talk about as it relates from your perspective?
Well, I can just say, from the perspective of time, to make it a 3-minute survey is brilliant because that's all the time anybody ever has to do anything. And so, of course, I was willing to take a quick 3-minute survey, and that's great. And what I discovered from that, though, was life-changing for me. I do appreciate the fact that you've been through a lot of the struggles that I'm currently struggling with and that I need guidance with. And so that's, from my perspective, something that I appreciate.
So what you're saying is some of this stuff that's real, you can relate to some of it. And when you took the survey, you had already gone through something recently that it hit a nerve.
Very recently, yeah. It was right at that moment that I needed that survey, and it is what I needed.
See, a barge, the reason I called it a barge is we have analytical people that like structure in their life. You know, if the picture's crooked when they walk in the room, they can't stand it. And they want order in their life, whether it be paperwork or whether it be people or people being timely. Just want their people to be orderly in life. And if they have children or they have spouses that are not, that's where the battle takes place. If they have employees, that's where the battle takes place with them. And so I think you can relate to that. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean they're a bad person. It means they're one of the other boats that you have a hard time connecting with at times. You may love them. You may marry them. They may be your kids. But at the end of the day, you just want to strangle them sometimes because they're not on the same page. And they're not going to do money the same way that you do money. They're not going to do a checkbook the same way. They're not going to do nutrition the same way. That may even be on their radar screen. Okay? And they're not going to do relationships the same way. Now, you're kind of the other end of the barge spectrum tonight. Do you have anything that struck you that we've been talking about in my descriptions of a barge?
No, not really, because I don't think of myself as a barge.
You are in our book, based on your score. Yeah.
Based on this survey, because I have a lot of the same characteristics as Mira. I just probably don't push them quite as far as she does. I might not be as adamant about people adhering to my principles, my rules of how I want to operate, how I want to.
Wouldn't it be nice, though, if people just understood how y'all felt and could just do it better?
I think all the people around me understand.
I thought you said it wasn't that prevalent and nobody notices.
Oh, no, I think they all
Okay, I misunderstood
But
you.
as I'm getting older, I'm becoming much calmer about it. I'm not being as vocal and vociferous about it.
So you used to be a lot more vocal.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'm
It doesn't
noticing
do
I'm
it doesn't do
mellowing
any good
too.
because people fight you. People fight your, the way that you want to do something. Because I know that my way is the best way.
Okay. Well, at least I'm glad you don't push your thoughts on others. Her thoughts are the best.
I keep it to myself.
I have a t-shirt
She-
that says we can do it my way or we can do it the dumb way.
Yeah.
Whichever.
I think what she's saying is she's so confident now that she's gotten older that they're not that bright. She doesn't want to waste any time on them
No,
anymore.
I still, and I don't call it wasting time. I don't call it wasting time. I think it's, I give my knowledge and my ideas to them, and I'm hoping that I can just help them a little bit, because I am a caregiver also.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I saw in her score, and of course we don't want to get into devil the details, but her numbers were close. And when people take our survey, if their numbers are close, that means they're adaptable and flexible as human beings. And that means that they can be a caregiver in one instance, and in an hour later being saying, pick up that stuff off the floor, you know that doesn't go there, but then I'll be your caregiver. So one of the things I want y'all to know from this visit today is that the numbers are important, because when they're one apart, like many of y'all's numbers were, that means you're adaptable and flexible and able to be more than one person. You're able to move with situations during the day. Now, we use a term here a lot, the attitude demographics. We're working with an organization here in the Las Vegas area called Media Data Network, and they do a lot of artificial intelligence work. They do a lot of platform programming where small businesses can bring their programming over to them to host and give them protective network, secure network. And they're going to be using our survey. And one of the things that we call that is attitude demographics. Well, you see, the truth is that the three of you are your attitude demographics. When somebody says, what is attitude demographics? Let me ask you this. Do you ladies buy anything? Y'all ever go shopping? Okay. So y'all do go shopping occasionally. Okay. Do you ever buy anything online?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you buy something online or you buy somewhere any kind of products, every company in the world would like to know how you feel and think, wouldn't they? Well, guess what? I just figured it out with your survey. And so I know how to market to y'all. I know how to market a message to you. I know what's important to you. Is that important that I know what's important to you? Would you like for just some guys in the world just to stop and say what's important? And so when I talk to women, and I believe women are a major market for our organization, because one, women will tend to listen sometimes when you talk to them, And guess what men don't do? They don't listen to nothing. I used to do women's seminars all over the country on finances, and guess what? Women were eager to learn about finances. You do a male seminar, they want to argue with you. So, at the end of the day, I personally believe that women will relate to our message about health, money, and relationships. I want your opinion, but I personally, when I weighed 320 pounds, I didn't want to weigh 320. I wanted to weigh less. Do you think there's any women in America that'd like to lose 15 or 20 pounds? What would you say if I told you we know the attitude makeup of the most obese people? Would that surprise you? They're not, by the way, they're not in this room today. There is an attitude demographic of the most obese people. They do not have y'all scoring patterns. I also want you to know that we know the attitude makeup of people who have money problems. They're not in this room. Doesn't mean you can't have some money problems. It doesn't mean you can't gain 5 or 10 pounds you want to lose. But there's certain attitude patterns that have the propensity to be the most obese, have the most trouble with money. And then what would you say if I told you we know the attitude makeup of the groups that have the most relationship problems? Would that surprise you? And it's not limited to one group, because we can all struggle, okay? I've been there and done that, as I've said that. Now, Lisa, you've been very quiet, but you're my most gregarious of the three. So tell me a little bit about what your thoughts are about what we're talking about, and any thoughts or experience you have.
As the sailboat, where does the sailboat fit in the relationships? Because that's important to me.
Well, a sailboat is what I call my bipolar pattern. No offense, okay? Because I'm a sailboat. And the reason matter of fact, I went down to my local eye place the other day and I said, I want to get some bipolar lenses. And she said, what do you mean bipolar? I said, you know, the little lenses where it looks different in the afternoon than it does in the morning. And she goes, sir, I don't think we have those. But anyway, bipolar, the reason I say sailboats are kind of bipolar, not in the literal sense, because we're not bipolar, we're just different. It means that we can be going down a road this way and make a right turn quick in the middle of the day. It means that we can be really serious and then all of a sudden be really fun. And people are, you know what I'm saying? Yes, I do. And they say to us, well, what's up with you? I thought you were so nice. Well, I was a while ago. Or, I got over it. So a bipolar person, when I call it his attitude, means that you're just different. Now, here's what's interesting. And this is what a lot of companies who work with me don't understand, or a lot of individuals who work with me don't understand. Or you know, we have a life coaching company. Real Life Management is a life coaching company. I've got life coaches around the world that use our tools to work with people on their marriage, money, whatever. This is what they understand, is that we know that people can move quickly in and out of their pattern. If they're a sailboat, and I've already told you if the numbers are close, right? So what if you got a sailboat with numbers close? Do you think that's hard to follow? I use the analogy of a freeway. Have you ever again going down a freeway 100 mile an hour and all of a sudden you see somebody hit a feeder road, jump a fence, and hit a tree? We have a group that we can identify that does that. Have you ever wondered why does somebody run past you at 80 mile an hour and then they're sitting at the light with you in a few minutes? There's a reason for that. There's a certain pattern. Have you ever wondered why somebody thinks if it's a buffet and it's $4, it's the best thing to do in the world? There's a reason for that. Have you ever wondered why somebody's got 6 credit cards maxed out and they're doing a consolidation loan at a bank? There's a reason for it. Have you wondered why somebody's on their 3rd marriage and they just keep marrying losers? This is what I always say to them. If you're always at the scene of a wreck, what does it tell you? Is that a good question? If you're always at the scene of a wreck, you must be part of the wreck. So what I'm really saying to y'all is that I think we got to lighten up and have a little fun with this stuff. But are we all the same? Do we all look at the world the same way? We're all different. Chocolate, vanilla, swirl, and strawberry, right? And then we got Tammy here, and Tammy doesn't have y'all's pattern. But I always tell people, God didn't make any junk. He just made us different, didn't he? Now, Tammy, I know you're supposed to be asking me questions, but you know how it is when I start talking. So do you have something else you want to talk about?
Well, I think it's always interesting because we're embarking on some really amazing concepts, a lot for progress, because a lot of times, Wayne, people, women and men, but obviously we have a group of women here that I'd like to really make impact. What happens when you have someone where they may not really like their own pattern because they're battling with the standards that they created for themselves and they're just not satisfied day in and day out? They learn their pattern, they have their 3-minute difference, but they're not making a difference because they don't like their pattern. What do you think about that, or what can we do to address that with women when they just don't like the person they're looking at in the mirror?
Well, I think that when you say the person they're looking at in the mirror, that could be a double-edged mirror. That could either be, I don't like the attitude of that person, or I don't like the way I physically look.
So let me ask you, is it, if women identified with that more,
They do.
if though they really put that on their forefront and became very conscientious of that, do you think they could definitely grow more effectively because they could stop and say, you know what, I don't really like what this may look like, so what can I do to make myself better? That actually can allow, what do you think, ladies? You know what I mean? Like if you're able to separate that, because it's not really you, it's just maybe a set of habits you've acquired yourself or accustomed yourself to. So how does behavior and how does the attitude demographic play in when someone wants to gradually make enhancements in their lives, be better, become better people, better women, better individuals for their relationships and their business? Where does someone start?
Well, I think, first of all, that's a great question, or a couple of questions, because we live in a country where if we're not happy, we turn to addictive behavior. So let's take me, and I'm sure some of you women have felt this. If you're not happy in your life and things aren't going well, it's easy to go pick up a Twinkie or get a bag of chips or a bag of peanuts and just sit down and watch TV in the evening and just, or get on Facebook or whatever and just start picking out. Have you ever had that thought in your life? Okay? Okay. Okay. Then there's some people that say, well, I don't do food, I go shopping. I'm depressed and I got 3 credit cards and I'm going to the mall. I'm not a foodaholic, I'm a shopaholic. So as I worked with women over the years, they told me there were kind of 3 things that, you know, that they kind of did. They said, you know, I'll go shopping, or I'll overeat, or maybe I'm doing both. Maybe I got both of them coming. And then the other one is maybe I'm going to go spend money on my kids and my grandkids, or I'm giving to the local foundations or whatever. In other words, I'm trying to be happy. And with the boat thing, this is what happens. See, the tugboat is not represented today. The tugboat is the one boat that just sets no boundaries. And so I think you have to set boundaries. And I think what happens is a lot of times we have trouble setting boundaries on relationships. If we love people in our life, we don't like saying no. And so then we end up making us unhappy so we can keep them happy. Can anybody relate to that? And I'm not sure that any of us, including myself, want to keep being unhappy forever so I can make somebody else unhappy. So I use this theory. I call it orange cones. You know, if you ride down America, through the roads of America, we're under construction with cones, aren't we? So I tell people, I think the best way to start getting happy is start setting boundaries. And so I see myself with orange cones around me, and I tell people, this is my zone. Here's my zone. Don't come inside my zone. Whatever you want from me or need from me, stay within the 2 feet of my orange cones. So can you visualize orange cones around you? Now, what would your life look like in general, at home or at work, if you had that little zone and you didn't let people in it? And you said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not pleasing this person. I'm not doing that. Do y'all ever feel like you get torn trying to please people? Now, some of you that are barges are thinking, they're saying, that never crossed my mind. But for tugboats, who in the book I talk about, they set no boundaries. They want everybody to be happy so they can be miserable. And that happens to be the fattest group, happens to be the brokest group. Because they're either given to somebody else or doing things that hurt them because they're not happy. Y'all follow me here? But I think regardless of what boat it is, when we're talking to women, I think women tend to be nurturers and, you know, the caregivers, and they got so many jobs. Look at my wife sometimes. I go, man, how many jobs you got? Right. I said, you do the laundry, you cook, you take care of the kids. You know, my kids are in their 30s. You're still taking care of the kids when they call every night. You got the grandkids. You got me whining and complaining because there's nothing to eat. I mean, what in the world? Where does your job stop? You know what I mean? And so what I'm saying is, I think that you have to start setting those cones and those boundaries, and then you don't want to go get a Twinkie. You feel better about life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So where does someone, so again, that's a great point you made, that we wear a lot of hats, we multitask. So we set those boundaries, and again, just to be more effective in life, because we have so many ranges of women who are very focused on their career, some women are focused on their family, but for some reason we all have the same value system, and it's about achieving something that just makes us feel accomplished, makes us feel good. How do we help women and people grow instead of just, we can set boundaries, but sometimes when you set boundaries, you kind of feel a little alienated, like you're kind of, you don't feel that bad, but you just kind of feel like, wait, am I missing something? Am I missing out on something or someone who could contribute into my life? Is there a program, a system that they could, a protocol that we believe in?
Well, real life management has a system, and we call it our 91-day system. You know what we do? We ask people, tell us what you want to improve. Is it your weight? Yeah. Is it your marriage? Your parenting skills? Your finances? Relationship with your employees in a business? And we actually have a sheet you fill out every day, and it has some emotional components to it, and it has, you know, what did I do on this and that. We force you. Guess who the first person to go through the 91-day process was? Me. It's tough. And guess what we also found is if somebody won't work on something for 91 days, they usually don't do well. In other words, they want me to give them an easy solution. Oh, what can I do? People used to, after I lost the weight, I started running marathons. Of all the crazy things, I used to run marathons, which was never on my radar screen. And I used to tell people, they'd say, well, what can I do if I want to be thin and stay in shape? I said, well, you can eat really good and exercise 6 days a week. Well, what else can I do? I don't like the sounds of that. So what I'm saying is we're all wanting an easy fix. Right. But we found that if you go through something for 91 days every day and you're working on it and you're aware of it, you start to improve life. It takes 91 days to alter a life. And we don't want to change who you are. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just a matter of we have to know, or you have to know your attitude and how your attitude can get you in trouble, and then what to do to work on that. But you got to decide what is it you want to work on. I had a problem in that I was fat, I was getting in money trouble, and my wife didn't like me. Well, which one should I do first? Well, the truth is I needed to do all three of them at first, but you can't do everything at once. So the first thing I did is I started working on my weight. Then I started working on my money issues and keeping things in perspective. And I just kept hoping she don't leave till I get through with my weight and my money. Now that sounds terrible, but that was exactly the process that I was going through.
This is nice, bite-sized pieces, so people are able to take the information, utilize it, because I'm all about results. I don't know if my trim says that, but I like to see that there are results and we can measure what we did last time and what we're going to do in the future if we don't get results. So what about, again, the extremes? So we have someone who's, let's say we have an extremely driven woman who wants to go out, conquer the world. She gets over-leveraged, maybe over-commits every so often, every day.
Yeah. An overcommitted person is always overcommitted. Mm-hmm. That's an attitude.
Right. So when we're looking at, again, just taking this technology and this information and really not only applying it to their own lives, but how can this be so effective for someone relating to someone else? How can they detect patterns in other people? Because it's one thing to know yourself, but what if I'm the only one in the world who knows my pattern and no one else knows my pattern and they don't even know I'm engaging in this technology? How can someone help that other person become more effective? Is it up to us, or do we make them take the...
Well, first of all, let me say this. If you think Falker was a problem, I have all my daughters give this to the guys they date. Okay? Now, I have 2 daughters that are married and 1 that's dating, but going back years, it was a requirement that the guys take the survey. So part of the answer to your question is absolutely.
Okay. So
It's kind of like you.
The survey.
Yeah. In other words, if you're gonna, everybody in my home, my wife, my children, my son-in-laws, now that they're my son-in-laws, we've all been. They've been in some classes, and we've taught them. They've come to my training. So we talk a different language. Like, you know, my son-in-law, I have one that's a tugboat, and I go, "How you doing, Tuggy? How you doing, Tuggy?" I got another one that's a sailboat and said, "How you sailing today, Bob?" Yeah. My point is that I know them as their name, but we've gotten to where we understand each other and we respect each other, that we don't see the world the same and we talk different. And yes, I think that everybody in my world, I want them to take a survey. I want everybody in my world to take a survey. You know why? Because I want to know how they want to be treated. A survey tells me how you want to be treated.
There you go.
Now, who doesn't want to be treated the way they want to be treated?
So it's like a blueprint.
It's like a blueprint.
Okay. This is exciting. Was this helpful, ladies? Have any questions?
One of the most effective parts of the survey that I took was the piece where I actually saw how other people view me. And I don't know if you wanted to touch on that at all, but that was huge for me.
Well, I think that's a good point, and I think we're going to have to go to a break for a second. We're going to take a commercial break, and I want to come back and pick that up because you hit on something that I think is worth talking about.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Wayne Nance, the author of The 3-Minute Difference. Have you ever wondered why you make the choices that you make? You eat food that maybe you shouldn't eat. You've got broken relationships that you're tired of having. You've made financial choices that are bad and you don't know what to do about it. I want you to know I've been there and done that. I was a financial advisor and had 4 credit cards maxed out at one time in my life. I weighed 315 pounds and my wife didn't like me very much. I want you to know I know what you feel. I know sometimes you feel like that. I don't know why I do what I do. It's attitude. By 7 years old, we've developed a core attitude. Our patented survey, the 3-minute survey, will help you understand immediately your core attitude and why you do what you do. It'll also give you a direction on things you shouldn't do to make better choices. Come join me at reallifeattitude.com. The cost is $19.95. I know everybody says, what's the cost? Well, the cost is $19.95. But that cost of $19.95 is the cost of 2 Mexican dinners. I just ask that you come take the survey and get your results today. Come join me at reallifeattitude.com. Thank you.
Listen, there's no fake news here. We can't all be rich, beautiful, and have great hair. There's still hope for the rest of us. In just 3 minutes, you can change your life. Better health, better finances, and even better relationships. All by understanding your personal attitudes and beliefs. And in just 3 minutes, you'll be able to alter your life for the better. All you have to do to get started is go to thereallifeattitude.com and take the 3-minute survey and tune into the Real Life Attitude Guy show for women only on Channel 21 in Houston. Or watch live on the World Wide Web by clicking kvqt21.com. If you are interested in being a guest on the show or having your questions answered on the air, email us at wayne@waynenance.com. In 2018, let's make real life resolutions and let's really improve our health, our finances, and our relationships.
Hi, this is Wayne Nance. I hope you're enjoying the Real Life Attitude Guy show. We're so glad you joined us for the show, and I'm really excited about it. And I don't want this commercial to be like some high-pressured sales pitch about all of our stuff. I just want to make sure if you're out there today and you're enjoying the show, that you know that you can take our 3-minute survey at reallifeattitude.com so you can customize our show and our programming to your attitude as you interact with the show. It costs $19.95, and we hope that you will go to the site and take the 3-minute survey at reallifeattitude.com. Also want you to know that we have coaching programs if you want to become a coach in our organization. If you want to come to our mentoring program, which is a 1 or 2 day class about attitude training. It doesn't matter what career you're in or what you do in life. These programs are available to you, and we would welcome you. We have books, we have CDs, we have DVDs. We've got a lot of product to support you. I hope that if you get time, you will go to our shopping cart or go to our website at reallifeattitude.com and look at opportunities of how you can get involved with real life management. We're really appreciative that you are here watching the show. We hope you'll continue to watch the show and know that we're always here to have support products for you if you go to reallifeattitude.com. So let's go back to the show, and I look forward to spending more quality time with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. We were touching on something very interesting, Mara, and you were talking about how people observe you, how they see us. Let's touch on that. I know we discussed that last week when we went over your survey, but tell us about that.
So I took the 2 different parts and I read the results from, you know, my letters or my pattern. And one of the pages that I read was about how other people view me.
So you got our survey offline.
Yes.
Is that what you got?
Tammy gave it to me.
Okay, Sammy got the survey offline.
And
Okay.
I read that, and that was so eye-opening to me to see, okay, when I think I'm being efficient and effective, somebody else thinks I'm being controlling and bossy. And to know that and recognize that, you know, helps me change my behavior so that I understand where they're coming from so that I can change my approach a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting how we view ourselves and how other people view themselves, okay? And so you've made a really important point, but I don't think you have to change who you are at all. We use the word alter.
I like alter.
Alter means a variation, but not a... See, if you tell somebody to change, they make a 360 opposite. Alter means alter your course. So we can soften if we need to soften. Like, I know I can be very dominating, and so what I try to do with my wife or my children, they're really sweet ladies, and they're not like me. They have a different makeup, and so I have to understand that's their attitude, and they're the person I'm trying to appeal to, so I have to be a little less Wayne. That's the easiest way to put it. Don't be me so much. And I think when you build relationships with people, that's what you have to do. Because sometimes you do things that annoy them. It doesn't have to be strong. It could be irresponsible. Maybe you're just an irresponsible person. Well, if you're irresponsible, you need to, if you're around somebody that's responsible, be more responsible. You know, we always have heard the golden rule is to be treated the way we want to be treated. I want to amend it just a second. Not that I want to change the Bible or the golden rule. But I think people want to be treated the way they want to be treated. That's a little different, isn't it? Do you want to be treated like me? Not necessarily at all. And so I think that's a key point. So when you're talking about attitudes, if we're talking with an organization about sales, well, if you sell everybody from your attitude, are you going to lose some sales? Absolutely. And to me, I believe everything's a sale. I believe I'm selling my wife every day that she still needs to stay with me. That's a sale. Because I'm giving her enough reasons every couple of days not to. So I think that there's a sale there, isn't there? Yeah. When my daughters, when I talk to my daughters, I need to talk to their attitude because they're different than me. And if I want them to have respect for me, I have to keep doing that, don't I? So I think what happens is because of our attitudes, we're selfish by nature. We're just human. And I think it's real easy for me, and I'm going to talk about me here, not just everybody else. I think it's easy for me to have my priorities out there every day, my needs, my wants. And so when I'm building relationships with people, I have to take a step back and go, okay, what do you need today? What can I do for you today? And what I have found is if I do something for you to meet your needs, you'll meet mine. And I don't think that knows any attitude. I think that's across the board. What about you, Lisa? Do you have anything to say as it relates to what we were talking about here with your experiences in business or family?
My experience, I would love to go back. I can't go back in time, but what this is amazing for is when you think about not just your relationships with the people that you know, but I think about our workers, the people around us, because it's the same thing that applies. I think about even, it's true, the children. Just know that just the whole thing, it doesn't stop. And I'm going back to, I know I deviated, I want to go back to the business, but amazing for the clients. Just think about knowing your client in the way, because that's huge. And who you're dealing with, who you may not want to deal with, or who you may just, so that you have that adjustment and their customers, and then just bringing that to them, it just brings so much. It saves all the, how do I say, it's almost like it saves that drama of trying to figure out something and you're going down the wrong path anyway. It is what it is. It allows you to accept that person without it being threatened, or vice versa, because you understand it.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because you and I have had discussions about corporate attitude demographics. We're talking about attitude demographics tonight, aren't we? And it doesn't matter if it's for the company or for the home. Attitude demographics is knowing your customer. At my house, my wife and 3 daughters are my customer. And because I know their attitudes, I don't mess up as much as I used to. Now, if I tell you I don't mess up, that's a lie. And if they see this footage, they'll call and tell you it was a lie. But I think that with our customers, and people used to say, well, who's your customer? Everybody's your customer. The people at your church are your customer. The people at the YMCA are your customer. The people that buy your product that you sell. Your employees, your friends. And I think that we've gone asleep in this country at the wheel, so to speak, that we don't think of everybody as a customer we want to make happy. We start taking people for granted. Granted in our lives, granted in our friendships. Y'all think that could happen? You know, when Tammy talked earlier about the terrible thing that happened here in Vegas, that gentleman had an attitude. I wished I had his scoring pattern. We have dealt with a lot. I worked in the military for 7 years now on suicide, sexual assault, and domestic violence. I don't know his pattern for sure. Only God knows. But I've seen a lot of patterns like that. So even something that terrible comes out of an attitude pattern and a set of scores, okay? And I've personally been devastated the whole week over it. I mean, I've been around this for years. I've seen nothing but death and or rape or abuse, and this has bothered me. This has rattled me this week. So you never get used to it. But I know the kind of attitude that does that, and I want y'all to know it's pretty out of balance. You know how your numbers were 1 apart? This person's numbers weren't 1 apart. They weren't anywhere close. And there's a lot of beliefs. You know, one of the things we haven't talked about today is not only do we all have an attitude score, but we have beliefs. And your beliefs come out of your experiences and life issues. You know, and so I want you to know that I just think that we all have to take a step back and just take time out and say, what do I want to improve in my life? Is there anything I want to improve? Yeah.
Wayne, I was just thinking about something, because this is where my life is. The older I get, and I'm lucky that my parents are alive, but they're older. So now they're coming into my life. And again, although it's child-parent, it's almost like you see the reverse, because they need care, but they're still your parents. They're still who they are. It's going to sound funny, but in a respectful way, to be able to give them the survey now that they're coming into my house. I think now I personally have a mechanism, because I know what buttons they push, and I know what buttons I push on them, and this is rough. This is rough for them to be changing. I think any caregiver, this is really important, because instead of wherever you came from in your different paths of life as you know, child parent, I'm thinking about this survey. I can't wait for them to take it, because it's going to help me know how to control myself and how to handle them, which is huge. That's in another week or so. So when we say, you know, so when we even talk about our family, we think of our immediate kids, but think about the elders that come into our lives, and they touch. It's patience, it's life, right? Like they come with health problems, they come with this and that. But I can't wait for them to take the survey. Can't wait.
You make a very valid point. If we would just think, I know the word customer sounds cold, But if we just thought of all the people in our life, our customers, we'd probably look at things a little different the way we treat people, a little more respectful sometimes. And so, but we got to stop and look at ourselves first and say, what am I doing and what do I want to improve? I had to decide what do I want to improve. I have people I talk to that say, I have nothing to improve. And I say, well, you know what? Good luck. I wished I could be there. I've never been there. Because every time I find something that I'm getting better at, I got something new on my list to improve. I never worry about people that want to improve. I worry about those that don't have anything to improve. You have any thoughts before we...
I do. I don't know how long you've been married, Wayne, but I've been married 50 years. And I find that I have changed drastically the manner in which I deal with my husband. And friends also. Friends that have been in my life for a long time. Because we change because of experience, because of what we've gone through personally. I think some of our attitudes change. So I find I treat people differently than I did years ago.
I think that you're right on point. I've been married 42 years, but let me tell you what I think it is that we've changed. I think it's beliefs. See, your core attitude score, if I'd have given it to you in high school, would have been pretty much the same as it is today. But our beliefs and our experiences over 40 years or 50 years of marriage, and just getting older, we start to alter the way we see the world. Do you believe does that make sense what I'm saying? Beliefs, you know, I use a model called SELF, S-E-L-F, when I talk about beliefs. Your spiritual beliefs, your experiences you've had in life, your life choices that you made good or bad, and your family background. I believe those are like a four-legged stool. Now, if you think about what I just described, and you start thinking about all the way back to your family background or your family when you were young, do you think all of those things impact our beliefs in life? So what I'm saying is think of your attitude score as the foundation of your house, a slab. And the slab's there. But now if your slab is, if your walls or roof of your house are crooked, it has something to do with the slab, but it has a lot to do with beliefs and choices. So it's like we're like a house in the sense that our attitude score today was your slab, your walls and your roof become your beliefs, and all the stuff in there, the cabinets and the furniture and the carpet, becomes your life choices. So when somebody says, you know, you need to change your ways, how many times have you heard that? You need to change what you do. Well, to me, I don't like hearing that, one. You need to start making better choices. Have we ever said that to our kids or our grandkids or whatever? What you're really saying to me, or what I've said when I say it, is backwards. But choices is the stuff in the house. That's not where the problem is. The problem is not the choices. You got to go all the way back to the root of the problem. The root of the problem is if our slab's a little crooked, our walls and our roof are crooked. Well, of course your choices are crooked. If you put cabinets in a house, it's crooked. So what I try to tell people is let's stop looking at the choices and look at what's making us have the choices. And that is our crooked slab and our crooked walls and our crooked roof. Does that make sense to y'all? Yeah. So the foundation can be good, but then beliefs can mess it up. But if you ever get when I say you, me and all of us, if we ever get our slab leveled out a little bit, and that's your number value that we talked about, and then your beliefs are pretty much lining up, choices get easier, don't they? So when I weighed 320 and I had credit cards maxed out and I was going to happy hour because I got free buffalo wings, okay, I was making bad choices because I lived in a crooked house. So we just got to not live in a crooked house. Hi, this is Wayne Nance. I hope you're enjoying the Real Life Attitude Guy show. We're so glad you joined us for the show, and I'm really excited about it. And I don't want this commercial to be like some high-pressured sales pitch about all of our stuff. I just want to make sure if you're out there today and you're enjoying the show, that you know that you can take our 3-minute survey at reallifeattitude.com so you can customize our show and our programming to your attitude as you interact with the show. It costs $19.95, and we hope that you will go to the site and take the 3-minute survey at reallifeattitude.com. Also want you to know that we have coaching programs if you want to become a coach in our organization. If you want to come to our mentoring program, which is a 1 or 2 day class about attitude training. It doesn't matter what career you're in or what you do in life. These programs are available to you, and we would welcome you. We have books, we have CDs, we have DVDs. We've got a lot of product to support you. I hope that if you get time, you will go to our shopping cart or go to our website at reallifeattitude.com and look at opportunities of how you can get involved with real life management. We're really appreciative that you are here watching the show. We hope you'll continue to watch the show and know that we're always here to have support products for you if you go to reallifeattitude.com. So let's go back to the show, and I look forward to spending more quality time with you. Thank you very much.
Listen, there's no fake news here. We can't all be rich, beautiful, and have great hair. There's still hope for the rest of us. In just 3 minutes, you can change your life. Better health, better finances, and even better relationships, all by understanding your personal attitudes and beliefs. And in just 3 minutes, you'll be able to alter your life for the better. All you have to do to get started is go to thereallifeattitude.com and take the 3-minute survey and tune into the Real Life Attitude Guy show for women only on Channel 21 in Houston, or watch live on the World Wide Web by clicking kvqt21.com. If you are interested in being a guest on the show or having your questions answered on the air, email us at wayne@waynenance.com. In 2018, let's make real life resolutions, and let's really improve our health, our finances, and our relationships.
Hi, I'm Wayne Nance, the author of The 3-Minute Difference. Have you ever wondered why you make the choices that you make? You eat food that maybe you shouldn't eat. You've got broken relationships that you're tired of having. You've made financial choices that are bad and you don't know what to do about it. I want you to know I've been there and done that. I was a financial advisor and had 4 credit cards maxed out at one time in my life. I weighed 315 pounds, and my wife didn't like me very much. I want you to know I know what you feel. I know sometimes you feel like that. I don't know why I do what I do. It's attitude. By 7 years old, we've developed a core attitude. Our patented survey, the 3-minute survey, will help you understand immediately your core attitude and why you do what you do. It'll also give you a direction on things you shouldn't do to make better choices. Come join me at reallifeattitude.com. The cost is $19.95. I know everybody says, what's the cost? Well, the cost is $19.95. But that cost of $19.95 is the cost of 2 Mexican dinners. I just ask that you come take the survey and get your results today. Come join me at reallifeattitude.com. Thank you.
Real Life Attitude Guy Show.
The Real Life Attitude Guy Show with Wayne Nance, author of Thin, Rich, and Happy, is now on the air.
Welcome to the show. This is Wayne Nance, the Real Life Attitude Guy, and I got an attitude. How about you?